Hello people of the internet, my name is Aidan and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. In the last episode we made some momentous steps forward as we not only proved the concept of unmanned artificial spaceflight, we not only proved it was possible for Kerbals to travel beyond the reaches of Kerbin, we not only then escaped Kerbin, but also, we passed by Minmus on the way out, proving the body's existence. Minmus had been nothing more than a myth for millions of years, ages and ages of Kerbal history, but now there was comprehensive proof that it really did exist. The achievements of the Boadicea have not gone unnoticed, and companies, manufacturers from around the world over, means the same thing twice, have been flocking to our space program to get us to test their rocket parts to destruction. The science gained from the Boadicea was potentially disappointing in terms of gameplay means anyway, so between episodes I went ahead and did a few contract missions. I completed the contract to test Sepratron while in flight, as well as 2 contracts relating to decouplers, one to test on a suborbital flight and the other while in orbit. These contracts gave us a fair amount of science, as well as plenty of Kerbal funds. And that should be able to fund some pretty extortionate missions at this point, I imagine. Such as the exploration of the moon. The growth of our space program has been noted by worldwide officials and the general public at large, and there are calls for us to explore the mystical ball of light which hangs in the sky above Kerbin. Never before landed upon by anything or even gone near. For centuries, for millennia even, Kerbals have wondered about the moon, as have humans as well, as have every single type of species. How is it held there? Is it held there in the palm of a god? Is it itself a god? Is it some sort of giant lamp, or is it some sort of constant explosion, or is it potentially just a ball of rock that's reflecting light from the sun, which itself is just a giant explosion? We should go and explore the sun, actually. That's a very Kerbal thing to do, I think. For a full and proper survey/exploration of the moon and of other neighbouring bodies, we are going to need some new parts. Some new parts to sustain our electrical capacity, I suppose, and this is where our science is going to come in very handy. We have 123, and this science node, which will give us a solar panel and a much larger battery, 200 electric charge in that one, so it's not actually that amazing, but it'll help, is 90 science, so we can go ahead and unlock that. Bing! And that has opened up the way to a lot of interesting stuff actually here. Look at this, yes. All the science equipment we will ever need. But for that, we're going to have to go and do a bit of science. With our new tech researched, we are more than happy to accept the challenge to explore the moon and take Kerbals to the moon within the next decade. I just want to interject very briefly to note that this contract here wants me to test a launch stability enhancer on Minmus. You know, those things that can't possibly be moved unless you hack the game. With our new tech, we have to build ourselves a spacecraft. I want the first thing that goes to the moon to be unmanned, so I'm going to go again with the Stay Putnik. And the plan for the mission is that we will pass by the moon and then potentially at a later date come in and drop into orbit. So I want to have plenty of science equipment. I probably want to have 2 of these guys actually. Oh, it's very finicky. But we can do this. Yeah, there we go. Nope, not at all. Oh god, this Stay Putnik is really quite awkward. That is really weird. That is really very strange. Oh, get lost. Yeah, that looks kind of okay. but I'm not really quite happy with it. It looks way too chunky. I want to have a lot of experiments on it, although it is already up to $5,000, this spacecraft. So this isn't going to be cheap by any means. Yeah, what I want to be able, it's going to have to transmit all of this data. Or maybe something along these lines will be acceptable. It's smaller, it doesn't have nearly as many experiments, but I mean, it's only our first mission. We don't fully know the capabilities of our rockets. We know they're fairly decent and can put things onto escape trajectories that pass by Minmus, hey, but we don't really know whether a heavier spacecraft will be able to go all the way to the moon and get into orbit as we want this one to. So I'm thinking just a smaller guy like this. Here we are, a couple of solar panels on there, and got plenty of electric charge potential in there. And I'm just going to come around with these solar panels in here as well. There we are. Okay, so now we have all of the eventualities covered. From all angles. Quite literally all angles covered. You know what? I really like this. I like this little tiny design here. It's nice and compact, and, you know, for our first little excursion into the unknown, into the reaches of the moon, this is going to be a nice little thing. I've decided to call this spacecraft the Utopia I. So this is going to be the Utopia project, our project, our unmanned excursions, at least to the moon, of which I imagine there will be many. We found out last time that this launch system, the one I used for the Boadicea, is, shall we say, fairly effective. So we're going to use this again for the Utopia, as I called it. Here we go, save a sub-assembly. There we go. Spacecraft shall be called the Medium Lifter. Is it not obvious? There we go. There we go. Now that might be fine. It'd be absolutely fine to foregoing to space, and certainly in stock. But we do want to build a bit of a central stage in here. So that just has to be very basic. Ideally I would like to use a smaller engine like this, but we haven't unlocked one. One of the nodes that we can actually unlock at this point is the smaller Rockomax engine, the little tiny little one. Which would probably be even better here, and we could just use one of these tanks. But for now I want to play it fairly safe, because we're not exactly safe on funds. We've got quite a lot, but this spacecraft is going to cost, you know, 22 grand. Okay, so change of plan again. Because I just want to have a very small stage here, which is for nothing more than getting us to the moon on the first pass. And what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to use these little Sepratron motors here, and I'm just going to plonk them on. I don't know whether this will be enough or not. Okay, so the last one, the Boadicea, it had one of these tanks here. This burnt out, this tank here, the second stage, it burnt out sort of when we were nearly in orbit, and then we were very easily able to get into orbit and then up to a very high altitude before even half of this had run out. I know that slowing down into orbit will take about 500 meters per second, delta V I believe they call it, which just means change in velocity. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to put on some of these Separatrons, as I say. Yeah, there we are. And we are going to use them to basically say, yeah, we don't know the exact requirements for getting to the moon, so we've got these fail-safes on there. Because that is exactly the case. You don't even have to roleplay or anything, that is exactly the case. Anyway, we have a bit of staging to figure out, and then we should be ready to go. Isn't this just wonderful? Within the first 10 minutes of a video, and we're already ready to go. 3, 2, 1. Liftoff of the Utopia I. Awesome. We are away and on our way to the moon we turn our thoughts skyward towards the looming ball of rock and iron and nickel and such forth. Now, while we're on the way up, I should probably explain what is going on, what's happening with the channel and with me and whatever. And with Kerbal Space Program even more specifically. I'll do a more roundabout video fairly soon on everything to do with everything that's going on. Right, so right now we are playing Kerbal Space Program 0.24. We're not on 0.25. 0.25 is out at time of recording. It is actually out, I'm just still playing on 0.24. That is partly to do with the fact that I'm just very, very lazy, but it is also to do with the fact that 0.25 it seems to have gone back on the performance improvements of 0.24. Like right now we don't have the best frames in the world, but because of the nature of Kerbal Space Program you can't really tell. Separation, second stage ignition. Now I mentioned 0.25 and the performance reduction, I guess, although it's not, it's sort of a return to normal more than anything, because very soon I will actually be able to deal with that because I am going to be getting a new computer. We should be good, so we should be able to do pretty much anything. So what I wanted to say was, if you have anything that you want me to do, then please don't hesitate to tell me. That would be pretty awesome to have some feedback on what other people want me to play. Although, if it's not something that I want to play, then I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to play bloody Slenderman or anything like that. But regardless, I'm going to do a more in-depth video of such things at some point in the future. Tilting back up a bit so we can hopefully bring our prograde away from the horizon. It's a little bit close there, cutting it a little bit fine. Fairing separation. Confirmed. I think we should be okay to just burn prograde at this time. Yeah, should be okay. Holy crap, our inclination is utterly horrendous. 4.5 degrees off. Okay, well... oh my word. Oh crap, that's dropping really fast. Oh, and the moon is rising right now. Now, I did actually want to talk about this because the best place to burn to get to the moon is actually just as it rises, you see. So it's about 1/4 around. We've not played with maneuver nodes yet, but this is a maneuver node, by the way. We are going to the moon, so if we burn out, like pull the retrograde, the prograde even, in this direction, then we get an encounter with the moon right there. Oh, yes. Awesome. Okay, well, we have an encounter with the moon. I think we just want to burn for that because it is right there in 1 second. It's 1 second away. Oh, God, why? But we should be able to just floor it now and not have to worry about anything else. Well, apart from that running out. But separation! Second stage ignition. Where the hell? What the hell? I'm slightly scared, but that is really, really awesome. Actually. That is totally by accident, but it appears that that engine has actually clipped into the fuel tank. And it looks really cool, actually. It's nice and compact. Okay, I really like that. I might use that again. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, okay, there we go. Moon encounter. We are going to kind of crash into it. Off into space. That's fairly typical of a moon encounter. I mean, you may be naturally thinking that, you know, the Boadicea shooting off into deep space, which is only our 3rd mission, was fairly unrealistic, but really it's not. The Soviet Luna, was it Luna 2? Yeah, Luna 2. It was a moon. I think it was originally intended to be a lunar orbit mission, but it crashed into the surface. No, it didn't. What am I on about? That doesn't make any sense at all. It didn't crash into the surface. It encountered the moon and then spun off into deep space. So it's not actually that unreasonable. We can get a well, not a decent encounter, but a encounter. So I'm thinking that rather than bothering with a whole flyby and then return, we might just go straight into orbit. Yes, we do not have a lot of fuel left. That was about a 500 meters per second burn that this engine did by itself. And then we have these separatrons, which might be helpful. Okay, what we're going to want to do is actually tilt the spacecraft around. There we go. So this is a better angle for ensuring solar coverage, I believe they call it, to make sure that sunlight actually hits the photovoltaic cells. And yeah, we should be okay now. So right now we are going to smack straight into the moon. Let's see what we can do. Okay, so a very small burn prograde will put us outside the moon at an altitude of 68 kilometers. Yeah, I think that would be okay. And it's literally 1.4 meters. Well, meters per second delta V. To get an equal plane orbit, it would take 76 meters per second. I want to play it fairly safe. Looking at this orbit, I'm thinking that the braking burn is going to be fairly huge. We are just going to perform a very, very small maneuver to boost our velocity slightly so that we do not crash into the moon. There we go. Did you see something glitter down there just a moment ago? Yes, there it is. Oh my word! Yeah, it's okay. It's the distant objects enhancement thing. It is actually working. Oh, that's really cool. Okay. Minor acceleration burn in 3, 2, 1. Whoops. Yes, and now you begin to see, like, the just craziness of orbital mechanics, because that tiny little burn just there made a massive difference. Holy crap. Stop. Oops, I am actually using the wrong settings here. I'd much rather be using something different. Well, this one, what it does, it shows your actual path through space, but I prefer the one that just shows you the orbit around the moon, because it gives you a far more realistic view of what it might actually look like. But for now, this will be fine. 5 kilometers, that's rather unnervingly close, but we want to get a close look, don't we? Yeah, why not? Here we go. Farewell, Kerbin. We shall see you again, we hope. Well, I mean, I certainly will see you again, and this guy won't be too long. It'll be within the solar neighborhood anyway. Won't be that far away, and this is very pretty. Oh wow, this is very pretty. Just look at that. Just look at that. This game is amazing. And now we turn our attention to the moon as it drifts towards us. Or rather, we drift towards it. Actually, it's relative. We're both kind of drifting towards each other. But yeah, here it comes. This is always a really cool shot. I love this. Look at this. Oh yeah. Oh, there we go. That will be entering the sphere of influence just there. We are going to come within 5 kilometers of the surface. That is fairly unnerving because I think there are mountains that are up to about 10 kilometers on the surface of the moon, and we're coming right over the South Pole, the most mountainous area of the moon. The formations are more exaggerated around the poles, around where it all joins up. But it actually works quite well because the poles on the actual moon are very mountainous. They're the areas that have the least impact, so they are very mountainous. So, something that's to do with computers actually worked quite well in real life in the game. Actually, before we want to do that, we want to raise our periaps a little bit. There we go. 8 kilometers will probably do wonderfully. Amazing. This whole series has just been me going, oh my god, I love this game! And will continue to be what this series consists of, because I do. Here we come. As we are pulled downwards by the gravity of Kerbin's closest celestial neighbour. Hopefully we're not going to be... Ooh! There we go, 60 kilometers. Kerbin is just sort of poking over the horizon there, just there like, hello, I'm Kerbin. I can see you there. And the sun has dipped below the horizon as well. We have switched to battery power. We are on internal control only. This is the point in the mission briefing when it goes to just some sort of strange 3D model animation, which makes the whole thing kind of pointless. But regardless, we should be okay because I don't have any remote tech or anything. If I did have remote tech, we would be seriously in trouble at this time. But we should be okay. That's a fairly scary looking mountain there, but we're not going much lower. Oh yeah, that is a really, really big mountain. I don't know if you'll be able to see that in the old YouTube video, but that is a massive mountain right there. Oh. Okay, this is Periaps right now. We are going to go full throttle. Burn commencing. Oh, burn complete. Yeah, that's nice actually. Yeah, that's really nice. I think I want to keep it in a fairly eccentric orbit such as this. Because we have quite a bit of fuel left, and then we also have the solid rocket boosters after that, we might be able to do a little bit of orbital maneuver. Yes, we can really get a good glimpse of the lunar surface from a close distance now. It is rather interesting. Fairly featureless, but who knows what we shall find down there. Down there. On the surface of a new world. Perhaps one day Kerbal shall come here, and they shall feast their eyes on new and beautiful landscapes. But for now, this mission has served its purpose. This machine, the Utopia I, the first of many, I do imagine, has served its ultimate purpose, and shall be the spacecraft, the permanent orbital spacecraft equivalent of retired, as in it will do its experiments and then kind of just sit there and act as a reconnaissance vehicle, which isn't so bad. Anyway, that will all be in the next episode, and I cannot wait for said next episode. So I do hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you when I see you. Goodbye.